finishing up the house this morning, and then I think we're gonna sit down and do a Q&A. You guys have asked us so many questions about building our house and the process of it since we're building it on our own that I wanna answer those questions for you today. All right, you guys were asking a bunch of questions on Instagram. I put up a question box, and I've always got questions over the years on building houses and just the process of it and how we've built our own house. So here are some of the questions. So first one, have you ever built a house on your own before? And we have. We built this house.
Built our last house.
Yes. Yeah, so this will be the third time that we've built a house on our own or without a builder. So we're our own general contractor, if that makes sense. Next one, how did you come up with the plan or the style of your new house? And for all three houses, we started with like an actual plan, like either walked through like a Pareto Homes house or found a plan online and then just customized it from there. So we never really like drew it out on paper and fully came up with a house.
Yeah, so the last two houses we used an architect that was local here. Actually, kind of a funny story, hand drawn. He actually hand drew it. So funny story, we have, you know, whenever you make a change to the design, he would whip out this big electric eraser and erase parts of it and then redraw it. So
yeah.
This time we've actually partnered with
Marker Architecture, and they do an incredible job. So we found them on Instagram, of course, and they have like more of a modern style that we were looking for, which leads me to the next question. What is the style of your new home? So I wasn't exactly sure if this meant like the layout or like the decor, but we really wanted like a really simple modern house, like floor to ceiling windows, like something really super unique, but it ended up being a little bit more traditional. But I think like we're doing like black windows and probably like sheetrock returns, if you know what that is, around the windows. Just like a really simple modern style. The outside will be dark, like almost black, but kind of still a traditional feel. But yeah, really like simple finishes, like more of a sheetrock fireplace, like all the way to the ceiling, like nothing ornate.
Yeah, I feel like we're in an interesting spot with the ages of our kids and the style of house that we would build. Just, you know, our kids, we have older kids that are in high school, and then obviously a younger kid. But if we were to build a house even in 5 years, it would probably be a different style house than what we're building right now.
Yeah, I think that was the key thing too. Like we needed 4 bedrooms. So once you start adding 4 bedrooms in, you can't just have like this like really simple modern, like tiny house almost. So that'll be our next build, I'm sure. But how do you choose what to upgrade when you're building? So some things we upgraded this time, and I guess that all depends on your budget, but I think flooring is really important. We're doing an engineered hardwood throughout the house. Otherwise, like a really good carpet so it's not matted down after 6 months. What would be another good thing to upgrade that you can think of?
I mean, countertops, appliances.
Oh yeah, countertops.
Where does
it
end?
Right, but if you had to choose.
Siding's a big one.
Yeah,
me.
He doesn't love vinyl siding. So that's a really big one. So it's your preference, it's your budget. But yeah, I would say like the finishes that you can't change easily, like you could change the lighting after a little while. That's pretty easy to change, but flooring's a lot harder. So how did you decide how much space you needed for your family? And that was we answered that question already. We needed 4 bedrooms. We have 3 kids. We didn't really want to make any of them share, although it was a thought in my mind at first when I was thinking, hey, we should really downsize. And actually, we were thinking of, at first, we were just going to build this house again. We love this house so much, and that was the original plan. Like we took this plan to the first person that we knew that drew up houses, and we're like, how can we make this into a different layout? Like we were going to put all 3 boys downstairs, just have a master bedroom upstairs, and like make it more modern. But the kicker was the lot that we bought. So we bought 13 acres, and you could have a basement there, but you needed it fully underground. So
yeah, very flat lot, no slope.
Yeah. So even if we brought in a bunch of dirt, we could have maybe had like a lookout in the basement, but we just didn't really want to do all that work and pay all that money just to have like a lookout basement. And then especially with like a Rambler style house where all 3 kids would be downstairs, they would just not really have any like window light or not much.
Yeah, I think there's another question coming up that we'll get more to, the type of house that we built in with no basement.
Yes, actually a lot of people ask all the like through this whole process, and then in the Q&A when I put that up, or the question box, a lot of people were asking why no basement? Why do you not have a basement? So
a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
The biggest reason was because we wanted to be able to have kind of a seamless transition from inside to outside. So if you have a basement, you will have a foundation, and then you will put 4 floor trusses on top of the foundation. Mm-hmm. So typically you're going to have at least 1 to 2 steps coming out of the house into like a patio area in the backyard. So that was one main reason. The other reason is we like the idea of the simplicity of it and having in-floor heat. Obviously, I think in-floor heat is one of the nicest heat sources that you can do here in Minnesota where it's cold. All winter long, you have this nice radiant floor that's warm. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so nice. My parents had that when they built a house up north before they moved back down here by us, but it was so cozy and so nice. Like even your furniture feels warmer, like when you sit on the floor and your feet stay warm. But especially if you have a concrete slab, like you're probably going to want in-floor heat. But we'll still have like a furnace and air conditioning and things like that. My questions went away for a second. Okay, what else did people ask here? Where do you even start being your own contractor?
That's a great question. You know, when we first did this a couple houses ago, it was a very stressful process. I mean, first of all, if you're going to get a mortgage, it was very difficult for us to find a mortgage company that would lend us the money, being our own general contractor. We ended up finding one. Actually, the bank was Mid-Minnesota Federal Credit Union. They're based out of northern Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. That's where my parents lived at the time. So because my parents were in the area, or maybe they used that as their bank as well, then we were able to use. So they were really great to work with, though. Yeah.
But if you know us, I mean, really the reason we decided to do it, if you know us, we're just kind of do-it-yourselfers. We're very frugal people. Like, we don't like spending extra money on anything, so.
Well, and I really love design too, so I didn't like the limitations. I don't like when people put like walls up for me, and where I'm like, no, like this is the design I like, this is what I want to do. And then they're like, well, that's going to be 3 times as much. And it's like, well, is it though? Like, let me figure it out. Let me go find it for myself. And I want to go to my own stores and source flooring and tile and lighting, and I just don't want like parameters.
So really, we kind of stumbled into it. Really, I mean, we bought a lot.
So that's right next door to where we are right now.
Whatever, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Bought a lot, and we started meeting with builders to build a house. So we developed some plans and kind of brought it to a couple different builders, and everybody looked at us and kind of just laughed, like, hey, we want to build this house for this amount of money.
We were super young, so we didn't have much of a budget, and we bought this like beautiful, like we were moving from a neighborhood where the houses were really close to each other, and we bought an acre lot like in this beautiful neighborhood and with trees, and we wanted to build like the best house we could. And I had, of course, like all these like hopes and dreams of building these houses off Pinterest, which we kind of know now like what costs more money and what to kind of avoid. And they had like swoops in the front over the porch and like all these like details and things like that. But still, it just felt so out of reach to use a builder.
And I'm not saying it's for everybody, right?
No, definitely not for everybody. But
really what we kind of stumbled into
if you're curious about it.
It was too expensive for us to use a builder and build what we wanted to build. So what I did is took our plans and I just started getting bids. And when I started adding up the cost for all the bids, I was like, hey, I think we can build this house for what we need to build it for versus what we were getting quotes from builders to build it for. So that's really kind of how it started. I mean, I will say that there was definitely a lot of costs that maybe I didn't account for at first.
Like dirt. Like that house next door needed a lot of dirt brought in. And that's just maybe something you don't really think about ahead of time.
Yeah. If you're ever going to do this, my one bit of advice would be to make sure you add contingency money. The first house we built, we had 0 contingency money. We went into it building and we had exactly that amount. So anything that went over, it was coming out of our pocket.
Yeah, like what would you say? Like at least like 10% of extra, like whatever you think it's going to cost, like add a line item of contingency and just say, we're not going to stress if something goes over because it's going to come out of the contingency money, because you are absolutely going to have things that come up along the way. Oh, another big one on this house was we didn't realize we needed to put in, what's it called? Like the electrical box in your yard. We needed our own transformer.
The current transformer was too far away to run the electric here, so we had to actually buy another one and have it placed
in our yard. Just what you want to buy when you're building a house, your own transformer.
So we bought a transformer, but we can't take it with us when we sell.
No, so that's just wonderful. But yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into it, but really Chris is super organized. He doesn't do this for work. He's an engineer, so he has the engineer type brain. I'm much more creative, and he can keep things very organized and like stay on task. So he has spreadsheets, or one main big spreadsheet with every little thing you can think of and then he gets all the bids and adds everything up, and then the contingency money. But the very first step, I guess, would be probably the plans, right? I mean, you buy the land, you get plans. And once you have all of your bids, you send those plans out to each contractor. And once you have all your bids, you can, maybe get a construction loan if you need one.
And that's tough. It really is. I mean, even on this house, the third time we've done it, and I'll tell you, in 10 years from building this house, back to Heather was saying, we actually got quotes to build this exact same house. Everything pretty much doubled in price. So it is a lot more expensive to build now than 10 years ago. That's probably obvious, but but even when we had a new house picked out for this, it was hard to really figure out, hey, what is this going to cost us? So really what we did is we actually found some plans and sent it to contractors for some of the major things like our concrete foundation or our building materials or some of the bigger contractors.
Yeah, building materials is probably like the biggest one. So you need to find a lumber company in your area, meet with them, and they take care of a lot of it. Actually, it's like lumber, trusses, windows, trim, doors. What else? Tons.
Roofing, windows.
So it's like one big cost. Sometimes like as far as like hardware and like doors, doors, trim, doorknobs, railings, even. So that's going to be like your biggest cost right there, is going through them. So. All right, next question.
Building in the winter and precautions for prevent mold and lumber.
Yeah, I probably got this question like at least 5 times in the last couple of days, especially when I showed that it snowed inside our house.
Shoveling snow out of the house yesterday. But yes, we get rain, we get snow. I mean, I think in any part of the country, you're going to have elements when people are building a house. Obviously, anything that is down on the ground or touching concrete is typically a pressure treated or green treat. Lumber, which is resistant to mold and mildew and protects the wood from rotting out. Obviously, we're going to get the house as dry as we possibly can, as soon as we can, and not let it stay wet. I haven't heard of anybody building in the elements and having issues with mold. I mean, maybe if you're in the Pacific Northwest or something where it's raining every day all the time.
And it will be like capped off and have a roof very, very soon.
Yeah,
and windows in like a week. So it's not like, I guess if you left it open for like months in the humid summer, or maybe in Florida, or like you said, the Pacific Northwest, where it's like very humid.
I think we got lucky too. This is really kind of one of the first rain snowstorms since they've started the build process. So I think we've gotten pretty lucky, and looking at the weather now, I think they're going to have the roof pretty well complete and hopefully get it shingled right away into next week. So, and the weather's looking good until then. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah. So it won't stay wet too long. All right. What other one? Oh, a lot of people are asking what flooring we're using. We're going with urban floors. The color is Carrera. I've shown it a couple times and I have it saved. I have a highlight saved on our Instagram, the Barta House, under build questions. And I showed some pictures there.
There's another one too, is, how much of the work are we going to do? I think a lot of people ask that.
Yeah.
We are going to do as little as possible. In a way, I mean, there's so many little things to building a house where you're going over there, cleaning things up, getting dumpsters ordered, or putting things in the dumpster, or just cleaning up the area. But as far, we're hiring general contractors for most everything: plumbing, heating, electrical, framing, sheetrock. We're not real sure. It's kind of going to depend on timing and budget once we get closer to the end on who's going to be doing some of the painting. We may try to tackle some of the painting and some of the floor installation, maybe some of the tile work. But, I would prefer the professionals do it.
Yeah, for sure. But the whole house will be all one color. We're probably doing Sherwin-Williams pure white on everything. So I feel pretty confident that if we have time and energy, I could do some painting. Yeah. But that would save a lot of money. We did that on this house. So
I think another question is, are we going to stay in our current home until this one's done? That would be perfect.
Yeah, our house is for sale. If you want to come buy it.
I don't think we are going to stay in our house all the way until it's done. We are fortunate and lucky enough to have a cabin just a few, 20 minutes away from here. So our plan is to stay in our cabin for the small
like if this sells and closes and our house probably won't be ready by then. We should also explain, so some people are asking, like, why are you even moving in the first place? Like, I love your house. It's so beautiful. And we love our house too. We love our neighborhood so much. We've been here for almost 10 years. We have friends here. Our kids have friends here. So it's really hard. But we've always thought, oh my gosh, what if 10 acres came available? And this fell into our lap. It's down the road. We split it with our friends. There's actually 27 acres. We split it right in half, and it's less than a mile from our current home right now. So really we could drive over here in 2 minutes and see our friends and hang out here still. So that was the only reason why. And we got to build a new house and pick exactly what we wanted. And
I mean, there's things obviously when you build a house, and I firm believer, I'd say my third house, I'll have everything fixed and picked out that I want, which is probably not even the case. I'm sure I'll find some things that I wish I would have done.
Yeah, it was all the little things if you could build again, what would you do? Hey, I would just have the master on the main level or things like that. So yeah, we were able to fully customize it and
but again, I think the main reason though is just to have a little bit more space. We want to maybe someday have, a few animals or even be able to build a separate pole barn to be able to store.
The boys have toys and stuff, they have dirt bikes, and we'll probably make a dirt bike track. And so our neighbors right next door too. So Chris is a firefighter. They are a fire family. The dad in that family is a firefighter as well. And they have kids, so it's fun. So we're starting our own little neighborhood sort of in a way. But yeah, so hopefully those questions or answers to those questions were helpful. But if you have any more questions, make sure just to add them in the comments. And then you can follow along on Instagram under the Barna House. And we're documenting the entire journey. And we'll be putting more videos on here as well as we get to them. We're taking tons of video along the way, so we'll have updates soon for you guys. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.